Bullies cut the girl's hair by force. She sues them and wins a $1 million settlement. 17-year-old Maya Delacroix had always been different at Westbridge Academy, with her thick, curly auburn hair that cascaded down to her waist like a waterfall of autumn leaves. She stood out among the sea of straightened blonde highlights that dominated the private school's hallways. Her father was a prominent civil rights attorney, and her mother ran a successful non-profit organization, but Maya had never mentioned her family's influence to anyone at school. She preferred to blend into the background, carrying herself with quiet dignity despite being one of the few black students in the overwhelmingly white institution. Maya had transferred to Westbridge at the beginning of her junior year when her father's law firm relocated to the affluent suburbs. The school's polished marble floors and towering columns impressed most visitors, but Maya felt the weight of curious stares and whispered conversations that followed her through the pristine corridors. She kept her head down, focusing on her studies and the photography club that met after school in the basement darkroom. The trouble started during her second week when she accidentally bumped into Brittany Blackwood in the crowded cafeteria. Brittany, the self-appointed queen of the junior class, had perfectly straightened platinum hair and a smile that never reached her cold blue eyes. Her father owned half the commercial real estate in town, and she never let anyone forget it. "Watch where you're going," Brittany had hissed, brushing imaginary dirt from her designer blazer. Some people clearly don't know how to behave in civilized society. Maya had simply apologized and moved on, but something about her quiet confidence seemed to irritate Brittany. Perhaps it was the way Maya carried herself with natural grace, or how her hair caught the light in ways that expensive salon treatments never could. Whatever the reason, Brittany decided Maya needed to be put in her place. Brittany's closest allies were Madison Torres and Chloe Williams. Madison, with her sharp features and calculating brown eyes, served as Brittany's strategic mastermind, always finding new ways to make their targets miserable. Chloe, blonde and bubbly on the surface, possessed a cruel streak that made her laugh at others' pain. Together they formed a trio that ruled Westbridge's social hierarchy through fear and manipulation. The bullying began subtly. Maya would find her locker mysteriously jammed, forcing her to be late for classes. Her homework assignments would disappear from her backpack, leaving her scrambling to explain to teachers. During lunch, she'd sit alone at a corner table while Brittany's group made loud comments about charity cases and people who don't belong. "Just ignore them," Maya told herself repeatedly. "Focus on your grades and get through this year." She had learned from her father that sometimes the best strategy was patience, gathering evidence before making a move. But more than that, she knew her parents had worked too hard to get where they were for her to jeopardize their reputation with school drama. The harassment escalated gradually. In the gymnasium locker room, Maya's clothes would be hidden while she showered after physical education, forcing her to wrap herself in a towel and search frantically before the next class arrived. Brittany and her friends would watch from across the room, giggling behind their hands. "Maybe if she cut that ridiculous hair, she wouldn't look so much like a wild animal," Madison whispered loudly enough for Maya to hear. Maya's hair had always been her pride. Her grandmother had taught her to care for it with special oils and gentle techniques passed down through generations. It represented her heritage, her family's strength, and her own identity. When people complimented it, she felt connected to something larger than herself. One particularly humiliating incident occurred in the hallway outside the chemistry lab. Maya was carrying a stack of books when Chloe accidentally knocked into her, sending papers flying everywhere. As Maya knelt to gather her materials, Brittany stepped on her hand. "Oops," Brittany said with mock innocence. "I didn't see you down there. Maybe you should stand up taller instead of crawling around like that." Other students watched the scene unfold, but no one intervened. Even Mr. Harrison, who taught advanced placement history, simply walked past as if nothing was happening. Maya gathered her belongings with burning cheeks, biting back tears of frustration and rage. "They want a reaction," she reminded herself. "Don't give them the satisfaction." But Brittany wasn't satisfied with Maya's silent endurance. If anything, it seemed to fuel her determination to break her target's composure. The psychological warfare intensified as autumn progressed into winter. During a particularly brutal November afternoon, Maya sat in the school library working on a research project when she overheard Brittany talking to Madison at a nearby table. "I'm so tired of looking at that mess she calls hair," Brittany said, not bothering to lower her voice. "Someone should do something about it. Like, honestly, doesn't she know this isn't the jungle?" Maya's hands clenched around her pen until her knuckles turned white. She thought about her father's advice. Document everything, Maya. Bullies. Count on their victims staying silent, but words have power and truth has power. That evening, Maya started keeping a detailed journal of every incident, noting dates, times, witnesses present, and exactly what was said or done. She began carrying a small digital recorder her father had given her for journalism class, hoping to capture evidence of the verbal abuse. The turning point came on a frigid December morning when Maya arrived at school to find her locker vandalized. Someone had spray-painted "Go back where you came from" across the metal door in red letters. Her stomach dropped as she realized dozens of students were staring, some taking pictures with their phones. Principal Davidson arrived within minutes, his face grave as he surveyed the damage. "Miss Delacroix, I'm terribly sorry about this. We'll have maintenance clean it immediately and launch a full investigation." But Maya knew the investigation would lead nowhere. There were no security cameras in that particular hallway, and she doubted any student would come forward as a witness. The incident would be filed away as random vandalism while she continued to suffer in silence. That afternoon in the cafeteria, Brittany approached Maya's isolated table with a satisfied smirk. "Heard about your locker," she said, pretending to examine her manicured nails. "That's so unfortunate. Maybe it's a sign that some people just don't fit in here. Maybe some people need to mind their own business," Maya replied quietly, surprising herself with her boldness. Brittany's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Excuse me? Did you just talk back to me?" "I said what I said." The cafeteria seemed to hold its breath as other students sensed the confrontation brewing. Madison and Chloe flanked Brittany like bodyguards, their expressions predatory. "You know what?" Brittany said, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "I think it's time someone taught you about respect." Maya felt a chill run down her spine, but she maintained eye contact. "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." The next few days passed in tense anticipation. Maya found herself constantly looking over her shoulder, wondering when and how Brittany would retaliate. The psychological pressure was exhausting, making it difficult to concentrate on schoolwork or sleep peacefully at night. The attack came on a Friday afternoon in December, just before winter break. Maya was in the basement darkroom developing photographs for her portfolio when she heard footsteps outside. She assumed it was Mr. Patterson, the photography teacher, returning from his meeting. Instead, Brittany, Madison, and Chloe entered the darkroom, closing the door behind them. The red safety light cast eerie shadows across their faces, making them look like demons from a nightmare. "Hello, Maya," Brittany said sweetly. "We thought it was time for a little makeover." Maya's heart began racing as she noticed the scissors glinting in Madison's hand. "What are you doing? Get out of here." "Oh, we're not going anywhere," Chloe giggled. "You see, we've been talking, and we decided that your hair is really bothering us. It's so unprofessional, unkempt. Don't you think it's time for a change?" Maya backed against the developer table, her mind racing. "You need to leave. Now." "Actually," Brittany stepped closer, "you need to learn some manners. We've been trying to help you fit in, but you just don't get it. Maybe a new look will help you understand your place here." Before Maya could react, Madison lunged forward and grabbed a fistful of her hair while Chloe held her arms. Maya struggled desperately, but they had planned this carefully. Brittany took the scissors and began cutting, sawing through the thick curls with aggressive, jagged motions. "Stop!" Maya screamed, tears streaming down her face as chunks of her beautiful hair fell to the floor. "Please stop. This is for your own good," Brittany panted as she continued cutting. "Now you'll look more civilized." They cut roughly and unevenly, leaving Maya with a choppy, humiliating mess that barely reached her shoulders. Years of careful growth and cultural pride lay scattered on the darkroom floor like discarded dreams. When they finished, Brittany stepped back to admire their handiwork. "Much better. Now you look like you belong here." The three girls left Maya sobbing in the darkroom, surrounded by the remnants of her identity. She stared at her reflection in the small mirror above the sink, barely recognizing the devastated girl looking back at her. But as Maya touched her ruined hair, something shifted inside her. The tears stopped, replaced by a cold, calculating fury that surprised her with its intensity. She remembered her father's words, "When people show you who they really are, believe them, and when they cross the line, make sure there are consequences." Maya carefully gathered every strand of her cut hair, placing it in evidence bags she found in the supply closet. She activated the voice recorder app on her phone and began documenting everything that had happened, speaking in the clear, precise language her father had taught her. Over the weekend, Maya told her parents everything. Her father's face darkened with rage when he saw her hair, but his voice remained professionally calm as he took notes. Her mother held her daughter close, whispering words of comfort and strength. "This isn't just bullying," her father said, grimly. "This is assault. They physically restrained you and damaged your person. That's criminal battery." "But they're just kids," Maya protested weakly. "They're 17 years old enough to know better and old enough to face consequences. More importantly, this was a hate crime with clear racial motivation. The vandalism, the comments about your hair being uncivilized and jungle-like, this establishes a pattern of racially motivated harassment." Her father spent the entire weekend building a case. He obtained security footage from the hallway cameras, showing the 3 girls entering and leaving the darkroom. He documented the locker vandalism, the pattern of harassment, and Maya's detailed journal entries. Most importantly, he had Maya's testimony and the physical evidence of her severed hair. Monday morning arrived like Judgment Day. Maya walked into Westbridge Academy wearing a carefully styled head wrap that her mother had taught her to tie, her head held high despite her pain. She felt different now, not broken, but transformed into something harder and more dangerous. Brittany took one look at Maya's covered head and smirked. "Nice rag, very authentic." "Thank you," Maya replied calmly. "I thought you'd appreciate authentic." What Brittany didn't know was that Maya's father had already filed criminal charges and was preparing a civil lawsuit. The wheels of justice were already turning, gathering momentum like an avalanche. The first sign came during second period when Principal Davidson's voice crackled over the intercom. "Brittany Blackwood, Madison Torres, and Chloe Williams, please. Report to the principal's office immediately." Maya felt a surge of satisfaction as she watched her tormentors exchange worried glances. They had no idea what was coming. By lunchtime, police officers were escorting all 3 girls out of the building in handcuffs. The charges were serious: criminal battery, assault, hate crime enhancement, and conspiracy. Their wealthy parents arrived in expensive cars with even more expensive lawyers, but the evidence was overwhelming. The local news picked up the story within hours. 3 students arrested for racially motivated attack at elite private school dominated the evening broadcast. Maya's father gave a powerful statement on the courthouse steps, his voice ringing with righteous anger. "This wasn't a prank or teenage drama," he declared. "This was a calculated assault, motivated by racial hatred. These young women physically restrained my daughter and forcibly cut her hair while making racist comments about her appearance. We will pursue justice through every available legal avenue." Diet. Story exploded across social media. A Justice for Maya began trending as people shared their own experiences with bullying and racial harassment. The incident sparked national conversations about racism in elite educational institutions and the need for stronger protections for students of color. Westbridge Academy found itself under intense scrutiny. Parents questioned why the school had failed to address the escalating harassment. Alumni threatened to withdraw their financial support. The Board of Trustees called emergency meetings as enrollment applications plummeted. Principal Davidson issued a public apology, but it felt hollow and calculated. "Westbridge Academy has zero tolerance for bullying or discrimination," he read from a prepared statement. "We are reviewing our policies to ensure this never happens again." Maya's father wasn't satisfied with empty promises. He filed a massive civil lawsuit against Brittany, Madison, Chloe, their families, and Westbridge Academy itself. The suit alleged negligence, failure to provide a safe educational environment, violation of civil rights, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The legal proceedings moved swiftly. Brittany's father tried to use his real estate connections to pressure Maya's family, but he discovered that attacking a prominent civil rights attorney was like poking a sleeping bear. The media attention only intensified his daughter's legal troubles. During depositions, the full extent of the harassment campaign came to light. Security footage revealed months of subtle intimidation tactics. Text messages between the 3 girls showed premeditation and racial animus. Character witnesses testified about the psychological impact on Maya. Brittany broke first during her deposition, sobbing as Maya's father systematically dismantled her claims of innocence. The lawyer's questions were precise and relentless, revealing the calculated nature of the bullying campaign. "Did you refer to my daughter's hair as uncivilized?" he asked. I don't remember." "Did you tell Madison Torres that someone should do something about my daughter's hair?" "Maybe, but I didn't mean." "Did you hold my daughter down while Madison cut her hair?" "It wasn't supposed to be a big deal." "Answer the question." Did you physically restrain my daughter?" "Yes," Brittany whispered, her privilege crumbling under the weight of legal consequences. The criminal trial proceeded, even as settlement negotiations began. The prosecution had an airtight case, and the defendant's expensive lawyers advised accepting plea deals. Brittany, Madison, and Chloe each pled guilty to reduced charges, but still faced probation, community service, and mandatory counseling. The civil settlement was where Maya's father truly demonstrated his legal prowess. He methodically calculated damages for emotional distress, educational disruption, therapy costs, and punitive damages designed to send a message. The hair-cutting incident had traumatized Maya, but it had also awakened something powerful within her family. Westbridge Academy settled quickly to avoid further bad publicity, agreeing to implement comprehensive anti-bullying programs and diversity training. They established a scholarship fund for students of color and hired Maya's mother's nonprofit to develop their new inclusion initiatives. The individual families proved more stubborn until Maya's father made it clear that he was prepared to pursue maximum damages in court. Media attention had already cost them socially and professionally. Brittany's father lost several major real estate deals when clients refused to work with him. Madison's family faced social ostracism at their country club. Chloe's parents watched their daughter's college prospects evaporate as news of her conviction spread. In the end, the combined settlements totaled over $1 million. Maya's father had structured the agreement to send a clear message: actions have consequences, and privilege wouldn't protect anyone from accountability. The money wasn't the real victory, though. Maya watched as her former tormentors faced the full weight of their choices. Brittany was expelled from Westbridge and had to finish her senior year at public school, her social status destroyed. Madison lost her early admission to Yale when the university learned about her conviction. Chloe faced similar academic consequences as colleges withdrew their offers. Maya herself transferred to a prestigious arts magnet school where her photography talents flourished. Her hair grew back stronger and more beautiful than before, but more importantly, she had discovered her own strength. The quiet girl who once endured harassment in silence had transformed into a confident young woman who understood the power of standing up for herself. The case established important legal precedents about bullying, hate crimes, and institutional responsibility. Maya's father used it as a foundation for advocating stronger protections for students nationwide. Their story inspired other victims to come forward and seek justice. On graduation day, Maya delivered the valedictorian speech at her new school. She spoke about resilience, justice, and the importance of turning pain into purpose. Her hair flowed around her shoulders like a crown, each curl representing the strength she had found in her darkest moment. "They thought they could break me by taking away something I loved," she told the audience. "But they only made me realize that my real power came from within. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing you do." Maya went on to study journalism and law, inspired by her father's example, but determined to forge her own path. She started a non-profit organization focused on supporting victims of school-based hate crimes, ensuring that other students wouldn't face their battles alone. Years later, she occasionally saw Brittany around town, older, quieter, working her retail job and keeping her head down. The former Queen Bee had learned the hard way that actions have consequences, and some mistakes follow you forever. Maya felt no satisfaction in her former tormentor's downfall. Instead, she felt grateful for the painful lesson that had taught her about justice, resilience, and the importance of never staying silent in the face of cruelty. The scar tissue was stronger than the original skin, and Maya Delacroix had become stronger than she ever imagined possible.